Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. The public is encouraged and welcome to address the school board at the hearing of citizens. The board clerk, Linda Termine, who is filling in for Kathy Tompkins, collects the cards for hearing of citizens, and I will call you forward at the appropriate time. Please stand for the pledge. Thank you very much. Well, today is a very special board meeting indeed, and we'd like to welcome our newest superintendent, Mr. Connor. So welcome again. And kicking off tonight's agenda, we will lead with the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Chair Ziegler. It's been a humbling and honoring 2 days. Mic on? There you go. Thank you. Well, I just first off want to say it has been a whirlwind of the last 2 days. It's been very exciting getting to meet so many new people, and I just want to thank this board for putting your trust in me, and I will not let you down. So I'm looking forward to what is coming up. It is hard to believe that school will be starting on August 10th, which is just around the corner. But we've done some amazing things. I've met with staff over the last 2 days and talked about the great things that are happening over the summer. And I just want to reassure our teachers, our administrators, our staff, I got your back. I am ready to lead this school district. I'm excited for the future of Sarasota County Schools, and we're going to do amazing work together. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to jump right into the superintendent's report, and I'm going to tell you it is rather long, this one. I will promise not to be as long in the future, but there's a lot to cover, and I'm excited to get started. So we're going to start off today to talk about some of the professional learning opportunities that are available for our teachers throughout the summer. We're doing several things, as you can see up here on our screen, from Schoology Teacher Hub Development, looking at our Summer Science Symposium. We have some math professional learning opportunities with cognitive guided instruction, looking at Orton, Gillingham, and morphology workshops, and our textbook adoption committees are hard at work with our K-12 math and social studies adoption. We also hosted the regional Best Math 3-day training for the DOE. We had over 700 participants come to Sarasota County. And of course, our Skip Mentor Updates training has been occurring. For our student services and ESE, we've had our Fiddlers training and our Mindset Foundations and full curriculum training, and we will be offering our Summer Institute from July 31st to August 1st, which is 2 days for our ESE staff. Some upcoming professional learning opportunities. With partnership, we are proud that the Sarasota Classified Teachers Association will be hosting the Foundations Academy, which will be Monday through Thursday, July 24th through the 27th. And that is focused on promoting the retention and recruitment of Sarasota instructional staff for our new teachers. So we're excited about that. We'll also be hosting our own new teacher induction Wednesday, August 2nd from 8:30 to 3:30. And then to shift gears a little bit, we'll talk about our summer learning academies. We have had over 10 sites, elementary sites, offering summer learning opportunities. That is run through July 5th through July 20th, and we have had over 1,000 students participate in that. Some of the outcomes for that summer learning academies were kindergarten readiness, and to really address and decrease and close the gap for summer learning loss that happens at specific grade levels. So we are coming to a close this week on our summer learning academies, and I'm hoping that by the end of the week that I can get out and see a few classes before they close for the summer. In terms of enrichment and some things that are happening, we've had our Suncoast Summer Reading Challenge that is happening at all of our SLA sites. We have our Little Medical School, which is at Tuttle and Emma Booker. We have the Little Vet School, the Little Doctor School, and I was sent some great pictures of that today to see the students interacting with their stuffed animals as they did their little veterinarian school. It was great. And then we have our Dive Into Reading initiative at Emma Booker. That's geared towards second graders in partnership with Gecko's Restaurant on Cattleman Road. Here's a couple of pictures of that event. Proud to say we're continuing to engage our family through our parent universities or family engagement activities that are organized at our SLA sites this year. We have dinner or refreshments are provided throughout, and we also have a food pantry available at some of our sites as well. In terms of our extended school year, which provides special education instructions to ensure that students are focused on those reading, math, and writing skills, and emphasizing tasks related to behaviors and social skills, communication, and much more, we've been offering our extended year services at the following sites, and we have been averaging a daily attendance of over 600 students that are taking advantage of that, so we're excited about that. We also have our transition age students participating in structured work programs at Oak Park, where they're learning a variety of tasks, such as running the Courtyard Cafe, delivering beverages, sorting packaging at the food pantry. So that's been a great experience as well. Some other summer initiatives that I want to just make sure that the public are aware of. We are still offering our free food for kids 18 and under. We are partnered with the All Face Food Bank and are once again partnering to provide free food and meals throughout the summer. These include breakfast, lunch, grocery items, snack packs for kids. If you need more information about that, please visit the website at www.allfacefoodbank.org/food finder, or you can call the number you see right here on the presentation. We also had, with the partnership with the Department of Agriculture, who host parties for the summers that are participating in those summer break spots. We were actually chosen as one of the 5 locations throughout the state. Tuttle Elementary was selected, and those students were able to play games, receive goodie bags, and enjoyed healthy meals and snacks. We want to just recognize a few of some outstanding students here. We have one of our 2023 graduates of Pineview, Duncan Marmash, who was actually awarded the prestigious Archimedes Award Scholarship. This is a $10,000 scholarship, and it's a testament to his work and commitment as it assists him with the resources as he wants to go on and pursue physics at Princeton University. Also, Congressman Greg Steube presented the Bronze Level Congressional Award at Sarasota High to student Kai Megan. The Congressional Award is the United States Congress Award for Young Americans. It's a nonpartisan, voluntary, non-competitive, and it recognizes initiative, service, achievement in America's youth. So congratulations to Kai on that. So just so you know, while the kids may be out for the summer, we still have plenty of staff that are out and about working very hard to prepare for the upcoming school year and for our summer activities. And we want to just make sure that we're continuing to recognize the incredible things that our team members are doing. So our CARES program is there, and we want to continue to invite people throughout the community, parents or staff, to recognize our employees by going to our SarasotaCountySchools.net/SCS CARES and submit some great things that you are seeing happening with our staff so we can recognize their great work. So we're really excited about this, and I want to thank Craig and the communications team for our back-to-school packet that will be coming out. The first day of school, like I said earlier, is Thursday, August the 10th, and we have a great interactive guide that will help register for school. It will help you register for transportation. It comes with a complete free and reduced meal application. It has just about everything you need to get ready for back to school for August 10th. So you go to our website, SarasotaCountySchools.net/back to school, and we'll be excited to use that. I think it'll be very helpful for those who need that one-stop shop. One really important thing that we need our families to ensure that they do is that they go and access our family portal, and that they are strongly encouraged to create that account, because that is where they're going to be able to access and keep track of attendance, their students' grades, and so much more. So we want to make sure that all of our parents, guardians, go to the portal, make sure that you have an account. If you already have an account, please make sure that all your information is correct and go to that portal. We can't emphasize that enough. That helps us with communication and keeps you connected and monitoring your student throughout the year. So I want to jump in. So this is day 2 for me. It's been exciting. and lots to do, lots that it's already been accomplished, but I do have very ambitious goals throughout the next 100 days with our transition plan. And I just want to make sure the community has at least an overview and an understanding of what that looks like. And we'll be posting this information throughout on our website throughout the transition so that you're up to date on the findings that I'm able to obtain, and then moving forward, the vision and direction we want to go. So I want to share a little bit around the goals and the outcomes, the overview of the transition plan, some areas of focus and next steps. So really the goal and the outcomes for the transition plan is to first, I got to build some trust and build some relationships within Sarasota County. It has been a pleasure serving in Duval County, Clay County, and Hillsborough County. I've learned and I've been mentored by some great, outstanding people, and I'm hoping that I can bring that and I can connect with the people here and maybe find some mentors right here in Sarasota County who can educate me on the history, the norms, the traditions, all of the things that Sarasota County stands for, and build those trusting relationships as I efficiently move into this position. I also want to make sure that I gain an understanding of the strengths, the opportunities, the challenges that we're facing in this district. You know, I've been able to see from the outside third-party perspective. Now I'm in the middle here, and now I get to see it from the inside. And so it's going to be really important to come with that transparency. I encourage staff to be open and honest. There should be no threat to be open and hear from you what are the great things and where are the challenges and what can we do in partnership to work better. I obviously don't have a silver bullet. It's going to be a teamwork. It's going to be all of us working together, collaborating to solve the issues that we see before us with our students. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And I just want to make sure that we all understand that our future is bright. There is a lot of great things happening in Sarasota County. We want to continue those great things. We want to find those areas that we can get better, and we push ourselves to get better. And that's what I'm hoping that the transition plan sets the stage for that as we move forward. It's really broken up into 4 components that I call LEAD. So first is listen, explore, analyze, and deliver. Now, I do want to say it's an interdependent phases. These are not all happening in a linear fashion. So I'm going to be listening throughout the 100 days. It's not just the first 45 days. I'm going to be exploring. And when I talk about exploring, I'm talking about looking at, you know, what things have been done in terms of audits and financial statements, and looking at, manuals, looking at all of those things that we have in existence within the county that are student progression plans, our board policies, exploring all of those to get a great understanding and seeing where the structures are now and what gaps may be existing. And analyzing things like student achievement data, but looking at insight data, looking at staff perception data, community perception data. I want to put out some information to our community and to our staff about surveys just to get a pulse, and I'll be doing that soon, so be on the lookout for that so that I can hear from you about some of the great things and challenges that you are facing and how we can help partner to move forward. But the areas of focus will be broadly around academic excellence, supportive environments, engaging our stakeholders, and our operational effectiveness. And that's how, through these 4 areas of focus, there will be a lot of listening under each of those 4. There will be a lot of exploring under those 4, a lot of analyzing, and then determining what are our deliverables as we move forward. So I'm excited about that. So what are the next steps? Just so you know, the 100 days that I'm counting are actually school days. So we're going from July 17th since I started, I should say. I know July 17th isn't a school day, but a work day. July 17th through December 11th is exactly 100 days. So I plan to meet with each of our board members here soon to talk about any input that they have in finalizing the plan. We are planning a retreat in August to talk about our governance expectations as a board and our relationship. And then we will have some upcoming community tours throughout the entire the county in each of our geographical locations. Those dates and times will be decided soon. We'll try to wait till school starts, because I know when people are back in the swing of things, they'll be more engaged and want to come to those. And then as we meet on a monthly basis as a board, I will bring back findings along the way. So I want to talk about that. As coming in as a superintendent, it's a great opportunity to realign some things. And I think for me, it's going to be making sure first we have the right seats, the right people in the right seats on the bus. There are some great, outstanding individuals that I've already been engaged with that are sitting right out here that have done some great work over the years. And what we want to do is make sure as I come in that I give that unbiased, transparent analysis to talk about where are we moving forward and what does that look like for Sarasota County under my leadership. And so we'll be doing that very quickly because we want to be up and on board and ramped up as school begins. We're running on a short timeline, but we can get there. And so what I want to do in terms, after reviewing the current org charts, there are some things that I'm bringing forth to the board tonight for approval, are 3 new job descriptions: Chief of Staff, Executive Director of Professional Learning and Leadership Development, and Supervisor of Government Affairs, and a revision of 4 current job descriptions. So we currently have a Chief Academic Officer. This one's more of a title change, which I'll get into soon. And then we have 3 Executive Directors. Currently, we only have 2. We have an elementary and a secondary, but we have had in the past a middle school. And so I'm bringing those existing job descriptions and then elevating them. So I want to talk little bit about each one. So the Chief of Staff position, I believe, is going to be very helpful for me to coordinate and help with effective communication across all of the various departments within the district. And there are many of them. That person will be helping the superintendent make decisions, policy development, strategic planning, and managing the strategic plan. There'll be a lot of critical administrative tasks that they will oversee, and they will collaborate across all levels to make sure we're driving continuous improvement. That person will be essentially a designee for superintendent and to help drive our district forward. In terms of the Chief Academic Officer, adding the Deputy Superintendent title to that, for me, really comes ensuring that I need to elevate that as we begin to elevate the executive directors, because I'm going to move forward for a minute. The chiefs of elementary, middle, and high school are going to be critical as we really drill down on the academic focus. So this is a revision of the current job descriptions, and I want to make sure that as we elevate this, that they report directly to the superintendent. They are going to be held accountable to really drive the academic focus and supporting our principals in our schools. And I think by doing that, elevation requires us, because the Chief Academic Officer is going to be very, very involved in that work and will coincide with working with them. So that is just a change in title for the Deputy Superintendent, nothing other than that. For Executive Director of Professional Learning and Leadership Development, through my onboarding, I've been explained that it has been a somewhat of a dismantled division department over the years. Things have kind of just, whether it be budget, whatever the case may be, it's time that we bring back the focus of professional learning and leadership development to the organization in a very, very efficient manner, because when we're talking about teachers leaving the profession, they don't feel supported is a lot of times the reason they're leaving. It's not always money. They don't feel like they've gotten the support. We need someone to drive that work so that we're not just churning and burning teachers, but that we're supporting them, because you can't address recruitment until you address retention. And so we've got to retain these teachers in our schools. And this person will lead not only for teachers, but for our non-instructional staff, for our administrators. This person is going to have a heavy load, but this is a necessary position for us. And in turn, developing a pipeline. We need to have a strong pipeline of teachers who move into administrative roles, and you got to have the right skill sets and the right preparation to do that effectively. Or you're gonna burn your principals out as well. So this person will cultivate that leadership amongst that staff. And then, of course, with all that's happening and transpiring with legislation, I can't even remember how many hundreds of bills passed in the last legislative session. You lose count. We need someone in the organization to drive that and to represent our district in terms of government and legislative affairs. Someone who is there to help keep those things in line, to make sure departments know what the new changes are with legislation, aligning our policies to that legislation, and keeping our board abreast of those changes, and working with the board to create a legislative platform so that we advocated for our needs. It's one thing to get out and advocate for the needs of education in districts across the state, and we partner with that. But we have to educate or advocate for Sarasota County needs. And so this person will help in that and ensure that there is appropriate communication regarding those changes. So it looks something like this. This is my proposal. So you see up the top, we have our deputy CAO and our chief of staff. And then you can kind of divide this into the left and the right. So you have your chief of elementary, middle, and high. And of course, the principals will report to them. You see in the green on the left side, the executive director of professional learning and development. The ones in gray are existing positions. There has been some change, a little bit of change I'm proposing in who reports to who. I've gotten some input from board members. I've gotten some input from staff, and this is what has been a result of that. Then on the left side, we have our chief financial officer, our operations officer, and our chief of police will be reporting directly to the superintendent as well. All right, so all of that leads us to why we're here. We recently received the PM3 data from the state. And so as I transition into this position, as I look towards a reorganization to help us set us up effectively for moving the needle academically, it really comes down to the results, right? And I want to thank our staff and our teachers, our administrator who have worked hard. This has been a tough couple of years. We've got new standards that we've been implementing. We've got new curriculum that we've been implementing. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of professional learning and a lot of time to adjust to those changes. And all of those changes seem to have compounded in a very short time. And so our teachers have done a phenomenal job of adjusting to that, and our administrators as well. And this is the results that we've seen. So we can see in ELA from PM1 to PM3, I'm looking at the growth from where we started at the beginning of the year to where we landed on PM3 at the end of the year. The state went from 33% to 50. Sarasota County started at 43 and went to 59. So there's a close growth there in terms of a 17-point growth from PM1 to 3. And in Sarasota, I had a 16% spread there. And then there's a breakdown, as you can see. As you look at this, there's obviously some grade levels we want to focus on. You know, as I look at 7th grade, I look at 8th grade, and I look at 10th grade, we're not growing as fast as the state is growing in those particular grade bands. And so those are good conversation starters to see, is it resources? Is it professional learning that we need? What is it that we need to provide to help move our students to the next level? In math, you see from grades 3 through 10, we outpaced the state there. That's an excellent. And we outpaced them in 3rd grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and then we didn't quite as much in 4th, 5th, and 8th. There was some declines, or we didn't meet the expected growth, or at least match what the state had there. So those are just conversation starters. So we're going to dive deep into that, look at each benchmark, look at each standard, and talk about the alignment of our resources and our instruction to help us continue to push the needle. So I'm excited about those conversations in the near future. And of course, here's our algebra, geometry. These are our end of course exams. And as you can see, while we outpace the state pretty significantly in many of these areas, I do believe by looking at where we're at with our data, there's still great opportunity for us to improve upon this. If we want to match St. Johns County and be the #1, then we've got to continue to push ourselves. And so I'm excited about how we can do that. And that is it. I know it's long, but I appreciate that, and promise I won't be that long as we move forward.
I appreciate that. No, and as we mentioned beforehand, let me get my computer over here, that we want you to take that opportunity. You've come in at a very unique time, and these are very important decisions, but with the overview and some of the discussions, or sorry, some of the action items we have in front of us today as a board, I appreciate the opportunity for you to share it, not only publicly to us, since we don't get to, this is our only time we get to convene, but also for the community, because it is fast-paced. But I also want to thank you for listening to the conversations and feedback that was provided in our discussions, and I'm sure with other board members. Were there any comments? I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to my queuing card. Nope. Okie dokie. Well, then, moving on to public comments, we have about 30 speakers, and we usually take a break around 20 speakers because the microphone battery will give up. So just a heads up around that. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. When the timer flashes yellow, 1 minute remains, and you will need to begin to summarize. Please stop speaking when the buzzer rings. Please also note that respect for divergent viewpoints and civility will be shown at every board meeting. Whether you agree or disagree with the speaker, please listen politely and respectfully without making any sounds of approval or disapproval, including clapping. We always say wave hands. I recognize that there's a lot of passion and emotion with the decisions that come before this board and the impact that they have on our students, families, staff, and community. As such, we believe it is important that we afford the opportunity for every speaker to be heard. To my fellow board members, any comment during a hearing of citizens that you would like to respond to, please take place at the conclusion of public comment. My request is that when you respond, you keep it to the issues that have been brought forward and refrain from directing it to any individual of the public. Per statute 1001.372, parent 3, anyone causing a disruption will first be given a warning, and if the conduct does not stop, you will be removed from the chambers. First up is Dan Miner, and then Jennifer Johnston.
I'm just simply here. First of all, I'm Dan Miner. I am the pastor of Harvest Church. I'm also the president of the organization that has Harvest House. It's one of the largest providers of human services in Sarasota, or really in the region. And I brought my kids today. I have a 9-year-old with me, Maddie, and Lainey, who's 16, Riverview High School. I wanted them to see this. I wanted them to see, because I believe today is a big deal. I think this is a momentous day. I think Sarasota County has been waiting for someone like you, Mr. Connor. And I wanted simply to come, not take 3 minutes, but I just simply wanted to come to say welcome as someone who deeply cares about Sarasota, this community, our children, and humanity all around us. I want to thank the board for a near unanimous approval of bringing you on as our superintendent, and I want to say wholeheartedly welcome to Sarasota. You have our full support, and we want to partner with you to do everything we can as a community to be number one in the state for our kids, not for the bragging rights. I mean, we can brag too, but for our kids. So welcome to Sarasota, sir.
Thank you. Jennifer Johnston and Roxy Jurdy.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Johnston, Director of Community Leadership with Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Welcome to Sarasota, Superintendent Connor. We are thrilled to have you. I moved here from Tampa several years ago and have found it to be an extremely generous and welcoming community. I hope you'll find the time to enjoy some of the wonders of our region, and just wanted to say, similar to Dan, that we're all here to assist you and move forward your vision. We look forward to working with you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Roxy Jurdy and Jamie Catron.
Thank you. I'm Roxy Jurdy. I'm the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of Sarasota County, and I, like the other speakers, am here to enthusiastically welcome you on behalf of our board and our staff and me personally. Since our founding in 1979, we have partnered with the Sarasota County School Board. Most recently, this past year, $2.2 million invested in students and scholarships. And we are so devoted to how do we ensure every student achieves their full potential. We've had a focus on reading, and always with, as we call it, the 2-gen lens, families and students together to thrive. So we are so excited to partner with you and work with you, and just know we're here to support you and the board for not only being number one, but just every student achieving their full potential. Welcome.
Thank you. Jamie Catron and Lee Brockman.
Thank you. I'm Jamie. I'm with the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. I'm a Director of Community Impact. I am very proud to stand up here today. I'm a proud alumni of Sarasota County Schools. Go Sailors, sorry. I am proud to continue my work with Sarasota County Schools through my role at the foundation. Most importantly, I'm a proud parent of 2 future Sarasota County School students. I'm proud of how our community banded together to ensure our schools continue to be led with integrity, fairness, and excellence. And it is my hope that this time next year, we are collectively proud of a stronger and more unified school district. For now, though, I'm just proud to welcome you to Sarasota. You can't not love it here.
Thank you. Lee Brockman and Dr. Mike Weddle.
Welcome. My name is Lee Brockman. I'm a member of Equality Florida and also of First Congregational United Church of Christ. And I'm just here to remind you that it's written somewhere that all men are created equal. And I assume that includes women and children too, even when they're born gay or happen to be transgender. I hope that the new superintendent has also adhered to that particular value. And I just want to say welcome. You're going to love Sarasota, and we're all happy you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mike Weddle, and then Smilin, if I don't have that correct.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Weddle. Thank you for those comments. I also want to say welcome, Superintendent Connor. We had a very good superintendent. I have every confidence that we've hired another very good superintendent, and I really appreciated your comments yesterday about leading with a focus on students, not a focus on politics. We discussed a lot of things on this board, as I'm sure you are aware of, a lot of politics like Vermilion education, and I'm hoping we can get past this now, this idea of needing to survey our teachers and students in their classrooms and report on their activities. There's no place for that here. Public education is a uniquely American institution, and there's been a very dark history of classroom and student surveillance in some very repressive regimes, and we need to protect against that. This is an American institution. Just one more thing, and I know this is a very positive meeting, and your presence here is a very positive thing. There's been some images posted on social media since the last meeting, and I just can't stand here and not express my feelings about that. And my view is that this dual role of board chair and political operative is a conflict of interest. I really feel that way. Madam Chairwoman, you wear many hats, regrettably many T-shirts, and homophobic and transphobic slogans. You're the chair for our entire school system, whatever hat you're wearing, and those kinds of things are a stain on all of us. So respectfully, I would ask you to make a choice. There is no reason why our school board should be connected to stigmatizing people, including children, on account of their humanity. So thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Smiley and Raina Benzini.
Actually, it's Lieutenant Colonel Duff.
I said Lieutenant Colonel. I apologize. I didn't have the mic on.
Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley. I'm Diane Smiley's husband, and I am not an alcoholic, okay? Usually that gets a little laugh. Welcome, Superintendent Connor. Yesterday I said promoting respect for our country should be priority number 1 in the schools. Only 38% of Americans think patriotism is important. Many Americans have died many Americans have died fighting for our country and flag. 7 of those Americans who died in 1972 and 74 were my Air Force Academy classmates, including one good friend, Neil Christie. One of my classmates, Mike Blassie, was interred until 2012 in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. All had promising lives. They were about 24 years old. They were the best of the best. They should be honored. The country should be honored. The flag should be respected for their sacrifices. And I would request, Superintendent Connor, that you and the other board members model respect with a simple act of wearing a American flag lapel pin or brooch. I'd like to talk for a moment about civility and respect. The whole board gets an F for that. Each board member, all 5 of you, are responsible for appropriate and civil discussion. If any board member notices a breach of respect or civility or failure to adhere to a code of conduct, they should immediately call a point of order, Robert's Rules. A point of order interrupts all discussion, and the chair rules on that point of order. The chair's ruling can be overturned by a majority of the board. I have observed the following when a point of order should have been made by someone on the board. One board member calling another a liar. One board member saying that other board members wanted to erase certain students. A public speaker making a personal attack on a board member. Each of you, not just the president, have the duty to conduct civil and respectful discussion. It's called a point of order. Use it. Be a model to our students on how to, not how not to, have respectful discussions. And Superintendent Connor, I hope you can help maybe educate our board on some of the finer points of Robert's Rules, including a point of order. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Rana Benzini. Jean Mitchell.
Good evening. My name is Rana Bazzini, and I am a resident of Sarasota. I'd like to add my best wishes and congratulations to all those who spoke yesterday at your swearing-in ceremony. And I trust we will respect the privacy of your lovely family, especially your children. It wasn't that long ago when we welcomed another superintendent after another chaotic period. Sadly, we were unaware of an elephant in the room. We were made aware of that elephant when the new board was installed and immediately moved to fire Dr. Asplin. We were blindsided. I'm still trying to understand the 180 turn by Mrs. Rose. I don't understand it, but I really, really am grateful, and I support you for your change. You started to promote the firing of Dr. Asplin, but then you promoted our Mr. Connor that I'm more than excited to see here. Yes, the elephant in the room was exposed, but I sense there's a pachyderm in the parlor. What's that saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We warmly welcome you. We are cautiously optimistic and will not let our guard down. Wishing you all the very best. May the force be with you. And on a personal note, I will continue to show up at all the school board meetings. Once again, my opening at McCurdy's will have to be postponed. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Mitchell, Paulina Testerman.
I am Jean Mitchell, a longtime resident of Sarasota. I love stories, and I'm going to share a story with you tonight. Two brothers who lived on adjoining farms fell into conflict. It was the first serious rift sharing machinery and trading labor and goods as needed without a hitch. Then the long collaboration fell apart. It began with small misunderstanding and grew into a major difference. Finally, it exploded into an exchange of bitter words, followed by weeks of silence. One morning, there was a knock on John's door. He opened it to find a man with a carpenter's toolbox. "I'm looking for a few days' work," he said. "Perhaps you have a job I could help you with." "Yes," said the older brother, "I do have a job for you. Look across the creek at that farm. That's my neighbor. In fact, he's my younger brother. Last week, there was a meadow between us. He recently took his bulldozer to the river levee, and now there is a creek between us. Well, he may have done this to spite me, but I'll do him one better. See that pile of lumber by the barn? I want you to build an 8-foot fence so I won't have to see his place or face anymore. The carpenter said, I think I understand the situation. Show me the nails, post-hole digger, and I'll be able to do a job that pleases you. The older brother had to go to town, so he helped the carpenter get the materials ready, then left for town. The carpenter worked hard all day, measuring, sawing, nailing. About sunset, when the farmer returned, the carpenter had just finished his job. The farmer's eyes opened wide. His jaw dropped. There was no fence at all. It was a bridge that stretched from one side of the creek to the other. A fine piece of work, handrails and all. His younger brother was coming toward them. You are quite a fellow to build this bridge after all I've said and done. The two brothers stood at each end of the bridge, then met in the middle, taking each other's hand. They turned to see the carpenter hoist his toolbox onto his shoulder. No, wait, stay a few days. We have other projects for you. I'd love to stay on, said the carpenter, but I have many more bridges to build. May each of us join in bridge building, made of honesty, inclusion, respect, honesty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paulina Testerman, Sebastian Martinez.
Good evening. My name is Paulina Testerman, and I have 2 children in Sarasota County Public Schools. I'm frustrated tonight because I was really looking forward to warmly welcoming our new superintendent. I had planned to express my optimism that Mr. Connor's addition to the board would be a line in the sand, and that as a community, we could rally around the renewed hope and faith we felt from Mr. Connor's years of education experience. I anticipated that our community could start healing. But I made the mistake of watching yesterday's 8 o'clock superintendent contract approval meeting, and that meeting hijacked my speech and my hope, because yet again, Mrs. Ziegler showcased her divisiveness, her grandstanding, her politicking, her ineptitude, and her overall inability to play well with others. Mrs. Ziegler's actions prove that she has no intentions of healing our community. But don't take my word for it. Instead, I'm going to read Mrs. Ziegler's exact words from the meeting where she is speaking to Mr. Connor. Quote, you will have my absolute support to do everything I can based on the knowledge I've gained as a school board member on this board for 2 terms, and any other thing I can do, because if the superintendent is successful, ultimately our mission is achieved and our children are going to be the benefactors of that. So you have my ultimate commitment for that going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, 26 seconds later, 26 seconds, Mrs. Ziegler voted against Mr. Connor's contract. I had to pause the video because I couldn't believe my eyes. How dare you lie to Mr. Connors, Mrs. Ziegler, and to our community? Do you think that we are dumb? Do you think that we don't notice the double talk? If you don't want to be a leader, a uniter, or a peacemaker, then maybe being a school board member isn't the job for you. We are a community that is suffering because of your reckless divisiveness. Mr. Connor, when people show you who they are, believe them. But please know that Mrs. Ziegler does not reflect the will of our community. Lastly, Mr. Connor, I'm going to read a tweet to you because you deserve to hear it. The tweet is dated December 4th, 2022, and it reads, quote, now it's on to our weekly game of winners and losers. The winners, honorable mention, Bridget McGrath Ziegler, the Sarasota County School Board and Moms for Liberty co-founder, claim the scalp of Sarasota County Superintendent Brennan Asplin. The author of that tweet is Mrs. Ziegler's husband, Christian Ziegler. You need to know that, Mr. Connor. They don't consider people as human beings with feelings, but rather trophies to be collected on a mantle. I find that sort of dehumanizing, disgusting, and dangerous. Our community is desperately hoping that you will lead with integrity, professionalism, and that you will leave politics at home. Welcome to Sarasota, Mr. Connor. I wish you had known us before our death spiral into chaos and division. We used to be an amazing community, full of arts and inclusion. Now we are just a bastion for tweets that refer to human beings as trophies. Thank you.
Thank you. Sebastian Martinez and Liz Barker.
Good evening, board members, and welcome Superintendent Connor. My name is Sebastian Martinez, and I'm a graduated student from our school district. I wanted to take this chance to talk about communication and the importance of being a good communicator. In our district, we've struggled and unfortunately fallen short at communicating with our students, teachers, and families. Something personal to me was seeing how our district, regardless of the board in charge, has fallen short in communicating with our Hispanic families, or really families whose primary language is not English. A lot of our families, and consequently our students, are falling through our gap because they might not know what's going on. Their parents might not know of different opportunities, they may not sign up for different clubs, may not apply for certain scholarships, grants, internships, resources, or opportunities. Because most of the time, that information isn't geared towards our Spanish-speaking or non-English speaking families. Our school board meetings are a unique opportunity for community members to come and speak to our board, provide insight about issues going on within the school district they oversee, and provide solutions to them. However, this isn't accessible, or it doesn't feel accessible to everyone. Por la misma razón que ningún miembro de esta junta me puede entender o resolver los problemas si te lo fuera a decir en español, es la razón que tenemos que comunicarnos con nuestras familias hispanas para darle un lugar que pueden hablar y que pueden defender sus hijos en la misma forma que todos aquí hablan para mejorar la experiencia y educación para sus hijos. And I don't want to assume that none of you could understand me. But to reiterate, we need to be proactive in communicating to our non-English speaking families, getting them on board in early education, engaging current families whose students are in school. We should be able to have a board where somebody who primarily speaks Spanish is able to come up here and tell you their issues or concerns, which then allows you to find solutions to them, and there are so many ways we can go about that. These students are just one group of many that are being left behind, and it's unacceptable. These are their lives and future. I look forward to this new chapter for our school district. I look forward to increased communication, transparency, and accountability. With students and teachers being at the forefront of fabricated and distracting scrutiny, it's important we stay focused on our students' educational success and real issues. In Sarasota, that can be increasing transportation, communication, helping out all of our students be able to eat where they learn, helping our teachers afford to live where they work, helping our students feel safe and accepted, not neglected and attacked. Fight for our students' educational success, our teachers and staff, their safety, and simple existence. And I wanted to end with the quote, "Every student, every day, whatever it takes." Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Barker, Jason Brunt.
Hi. Superintendent Connor, board members, good evening. I'm Liz Barker, mom of 4 young children in Sarasota County Public Schools. On behalf of myself and my family, we are thrilled to welcome you, Mr. Connor, and your lovely family to Sarasota. We hope that you will enjoy living here as much as we do. Today marks an exciting new chapter for our families and community. By finding common ground, respecting the rights of all parents and students, and providing meaningful support to teachers, we will see improved student achievement. Board members, our families expect you to work side by side with our new superintendent to build consensus in our shared mission to improve student outcomes. Families in Sarasota understand that we have far more in common than not when it comes to education. Schools are not red or blue. We are ready to set aside our political differences in service to our children, and we ask that you follow our lead. Families in Sarasota refuse to be distracted by a witch hunt for SEL, CASEL, or CRT. We want our children to have access to high-quality, diverse curricula. We ask the board to refocus their energy by adding evidence-based strategies and materials rather than taking them away. Our students deserve to have access to the very best tools available, and we will need to utilize every resource to remediate the learning loss they suffered due to COVID. Teachers are inarguably the most important part of the equation for student success. They are the ones doing the day-to-day work of educating our children, and it is critical that we support them. I said it yesterday, but it bears repeating. Fearful teachers are not effective instructors. I was very pleased to see that Superintendent Connor recommended the addition of an Executive Director of Professional Learning and Leadership Development to the budget. Our teachers deserve to have access to high-quality, meaningful professional learning, and we ask the board to approve this recommendation. I know that together we can be agents for change in our community and schools, and I look forward to seeing what we can accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Brunt and Christy Carwatt.
I'm Jason Brunt, again. Good to see you. So I stand here not only for my children, but for the countless others that suffer in silence, afraid to deviate from the prevailing trend in fear of retribution. Our concerns have fallen on deaf ears before, but I want to share what happened after the last time that I spoke right here with y'all fine people. After my son was bullied by a group of LGBTQ kids, and our concerns were completely ignored by everybody. Within 1 hour of speaking here, the left internet sleuths over here at work and my family became victims of a relentless campaign of harassment from the people in this very room. We received threatening phone calls and messages. I even lost my career within 24 hours due to malicious and inaccurate complaints lodged against me. Our lives were turned upside down. My family was threatened physically. Our children were subjected to threats of homosexual acts by grown adults. And we were even run off the road in our own vehicles by progressive lunatics after leaving these meetings. Again, these are the same monsters here today that claim to advocate for love and tolerance. I share my story not for sympathy, but to expose the chilling reality faced by those who challenge the Ku Klux Alphabet Klan. Those who claim to promote love and kindness have shown bigotry, hatred, and targeted violence. Today I speak for hundreds of parents who yearn to speak up, but fear the progressive mafia's wrath. Our children should not be used as pawns in an adult political culture war. The rainbow, once a symbol of hope and prosperity, has been perverted into a weapon of segregation and condemnation. It has become comparable to the swastika, a symbol that once promised good fortune, but became a tool to divide and chastise those that resisted. Today, I beg of you, the members of the Sarasota County School Board, to stop worrying about social media validation and pressure from radical activist groups, and listen to us, the people, and please put an end to this grooming of our children. Duval County took a courageous stand by banning the display of exclusionary rainbow propaganda, recognizing that the harm that it caused and the division it fostered amongst teachers and students. I urge you to follow suit and prohibit the display of these divisive and harmful materials from our K-12 schools before school resumes. Every single child deserves fair treatment and celebration and an education free from bias imposed by radical teachers and extremist activists. I urge you to be advocates for the voiceless, stand with concerned parents, and take a stand against the indoctrination of our children. Let Sarasota be a beacon of fairness of unity, where every child feels valued and accepted. It is time for action now. Yes, you're right. The politics should be taken out of the school system, and that includes from their side as well. Those are some of the most evil and nasty people I've ever known. My family's underwater because of it. My brother almost lost his job, and we have had death threats. That is wrong. Nobody on my side does that to them.
Thank you so very much. Christy Carwatt, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Case in point. Evil freaks.
Barbara Vaughn.
Good evening, Mr. Connor, board members, and board attorney. I am Christy Carwatt, a teacher with over 30 years' experience teaching in our district. Luckily, I will be officially retired in a couple of weeks, but I still plan to be involved. I'm also a mother of two who attended Sarasota schools and a resident of Sarasota for over 40 years. First, I want to welcome you, Mr. Connor. I am pleased that the board chose you from among the finalists, as I think you are the most qualified of the group to lead our district to the next level. As a teacher, I appreciate your experience at various positions within the educational system. Experience is the best teacher. I also appreciate that you seem to be someone who will not allow politics to affect your decisions as the leader of the Sarasota County public school system. Politics has no place in our public schools, nor does religion. I am sure you are aware of the many problems we have faced over the past few years because I'm sure you have done your homework. I want to tell you that the accusations of indoctrination, grooming, teaching CRT, those are not true. I've been in this district for over 30 years. My kids went to school here. I know teachers in different schools throughout the county. That is just not true. Unfortunately, a loud minority of people are using these issues to weaken our public school system and to distract us from the real issues our schools are facing. As a teacher, I think it's time to focus on academics and the real problems our schools face. Problems such as the achievement gap, students who are not reading on grade level, school safety for all students, attendance issues, discipline, mental health issues. Also, we need to address the fear that teachers have for sharing their concerns with the administration and with the board. When I go back after speaking at meetings, everybody's like, yeah, go, Christy, go, Christy. I'm like, go, you need to go and speak up. No, 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 I might lose my job. Teachers should not feel that way. Also, I think we need to be prepared to deal with the impact of recent legislation, such as the new voucher program and the marginalization of certain students and their families. We have a great school system, but we have much that we can do to improve it. Second, I want to thank Mr. Edwards, Mrs. Rose, and Mrs. Marinelli for voting for Mr. Connor for our superintendent. Your job as board members is to base your decisions on what is best for our students, and you three did just that. Thank you so much. You put politics aside, and you did what was right for this school district and for our community. I am grateful, very, very grateful, because I am a true believer in public education. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Vaughn, Michelle Posey.
I'm Barbara Vaughn, and for the sake of Mr. Connor, who does not know me, my job, God ordained, is to come here and pray. And today we're going to pray especially for you as our newcomer here. We do pray for you, Mr. Connor. We pray that you can accomplish the things that you so nicely laid out for us today, the things you are committed to doing when you sought this position as our school superintendent. We hope that you will demonstrate to the school board and to the families of our students that you can increase their knowledge, their mastery of academics, increase their reading and math scores, that you can help build a curriculum based on academics and not ideologies. We pray that you will root out any vestige of CRT, SEL, or DEI in our schools. They don't belong in our schools. And we pray that the school board will allow him the resources and the room to succeed in these endeavors. Karen and Robin, I pray that going forward, you will remember why you were elected and who elected you. I pray, Tom, that you would keep your personal life separate from your school board duties.
You're not elected.
I pray for Bridget as she endeavors to guide this disparate group and keep everybody rowing in the same direction. And be with her, Lord, as she suffers the slings and arrows that are constantly aimed at her. We pray for our parents and for the other loved ones of our students. We know that they care so deeply for our students and want the best for them, and we pray that for them. We pray that our students are enjoying a nice summer, and we hope they'll be ready, and we'll be ready for them to start a new school year under new leadership. And we do pray for you, Mr. Connor. Amen.
Thank you. I'm just going to stop us for a moment because we've been doing very well. And I just want to point out that if there is another outburst, I don't want to have the point where we're going to empty out the room again and go one by one. If you disagree with a speaker, you have the right to do so silently so that person can speak. Ms. Michelle Posey and Norman Wirtz. And I'll just make another note that point of orders work between board members, not members of the public. And we respect the right for people to petition their government, even when we disagree. Mrs. Posey.
Hi, thank you, and welcome, Mr. Connor, to Sarasota. Obviously, we pray that God will use you, Mr. Connor, to be a blessing to this community. However, I got to warn you,
Blind obedience is not our mantra, and I just want to make sure that you understand that. There's a push to want to go forward by our board and kind of leave the past behind us, and I can respect that. But I want you to know that we're still holding you accountable for promises made in the past. Promises such as, can we please get a streamlined policy that says that we're allowed to walk kids into their classroom, not leave it in the hands of principals, but can we get that from the leadership on down? We still do have books that contain explicit material in our libraries, and I heard a parent say, well, that's within my right to put that in the hands of my child. And I want to say, yes, it is, but not on the taxpayer's dime. Taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for that filth, so I'd like you to act aggressively on that. We never got a line item audit for our budget before more money was spent. The interagency agreement workshop was kind of more of a glorified call me if you have any questions. We never got a return of investment analysis on those third-party partnerships. DEI seems to be a pet peeve of our governor, yet we still employ an equity director. These are promises I need you to follow through on, and you look like you're the type of person who will do that. I also want to bring up a concern about a board member who's campaigning right now and his platform. He's the board member that represents my district, but clearly doesn't represent me. He gauged support. This is what he said on Facebook. I support sexuality once it's realized. Now keep in mind, every single one of our students, about 99%.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Few people have the audacity.
During public comment, there are things that are said that people disagree with. Point of order is, excuse me, I'm the chairman. Point of order is among the board members when they are out of order. That is how it works.
No.
Mr.
When I am misquoted, which is what happened.
No, now.
And it is point of order.
Now, actually, you are out of order.
I will accept being out of order. When she can quote me accurately, then we will have a discussion.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes,
You are
Madam
an
Chair.
elected official.
Yes, I am.
There are plenty of times during public comment, any member may or may not of the public say something that's inaccurate. I can tell you that there are multiple times here. Right now is not the appropriate time to go back and forth. As mentioned, at the conclusion, you have the value and benefit of the bully pulpit and can make those comments as you see fit, but you will not.
Point of order, Madam Chair. You are not to school me.
Okay, we are going to be recessed. Mr. Edwards, this is not acceptable. I apologize. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Mrs. Posey, you will be given your time back.
Thank you.
We'll reconvene at 7:07. Excuse me, 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please take your seats? We're going to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please quiet in the gallery. I will call back Mrs. Posey. I believe Mrs. Termine, what was the minute? 1 minute and 8 seconds? If you can conclude in 1 minute and 8 seconds, that's what we had stopped at the top.
Sure,
And
no
after
problem.
that is Norman Wirtz. Thank you so much.
So to finish, Mr. Connor, I was addressing one of our school board candidates, our school board members, who's a candidate who represents my district. He did put on Facebook, and I'll read it for you, on July 7th, he said, "We want to support all sexual orientations once they're realized." And here's why that's a problem for me. It's a problem because 99% of our students are minors. Sexuality and minors, I know you said you don't have a job description, but I'm willing to bet worrying about the sexual orientations of our students is not on there. So few people have the audacity to consider a child's sexuality, but even fewer are extreme enough to post about it on Facebook. A child's sexuality is not what you are to be concerned about here. This is an educational arena. Our students are minors. Your discussion of their sexuality on Facebook is grossly perverted and not at all moderate like you claim to be. If you want to go down this campaign of deceiving people that you're a moderate, I will gladly walk behind you, shining a flashlight of your deception.
Thank you. Norman Wirtz and Shannon Clement.
Hello, welcome Superintendent Connor. I would just point out a couple of things. I'm an accountant by training and inclination, and so I've always got to deal with numbers. And I noticed that you negotiated a 20-week separation agreement, which would pay you about $86,000 should you be terminated. This board didn't hesitate to spend $172,000 to get rid of Superintendent Aspin. So just watch your back, if you will. What you should be doing is protecting students and teachers primarily from the draconian fascist book burning that our legislature has inflicted upon us. I think teacher morale here is at an all-time low, and that should be something that you deal with. I'd also note that even though Mrs. Ziegler gave you her ultimate commitment to you, perhaps a more explicit display would have been good for you, but actions speak louder than words, but who am I? Also, it's been announced that General Flynn, who we should always note is a convicted felon, is trying to come up with a candidate to oppose one of the members. And I would tell you that he touted one of your opponents for there because that person who didn't get the job, thank goodness, wanted to reach unchurched students that had no place here. Regarding truth, here's a note from Save Our Schools. This article from Popular Information investigates Bridget Ziegler's attempt to hide the original proposal submitted by Jordan Adams, Vermillion Education, to provide consulting services. Although Mrs. Ziegler was asked 6 times why the proposals, original and edited versions, were not provided to the public, it took a public records request to finally gain access to the proposals. Yes, we know there were 2 proposals, the original proposal and the whitewashed version. We note that those proposals are still not available to the public. Is the board contemplating another shot at the Vermillion proposal? When Jordan Adams was touting a contract in Pennsylvania, he admitted that the Penridge contract was his first consulting contract. And under questioning, he admitted that Penridge was Vermillion Education's only public client. Odd then that when Adams made his appearance at the school board workshop on Zoom, he was asked by Tim Enos, how many districts are you currently advising? He had answered he had been working with a couple of districts. Our math skills may not be Einstein level, but a couple does not equal 0. I've got more, but I'll hold it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Shannon Clement, Jenna Holmes. And if I could just please remind the audience, we were doing very well, so if we could just keep it quiet, let each person speak. We understand there's differences of opinion, but let's allow each person to be spoken.
Thank you.
Mrs. Clement.
Shannon Clement, parent of a student currently enrolled in our public ed systems. Good evening, all. I would like to start my comments this evening by welcoming Mr. Connor to this crazy little circus. Now, that's not intended to be flippant, even in light of tonight's events, just simply a reference to the history of the area. Quite a few of us, from both sides of the proverbial aisle, are optimistic on your tenure. Bridges are needed to overcome the chasm of divisiveness that has been prevalent in these parts, and though it seems, through actions previously demonstrated by the board, including your selection, that those bridges have at least had their piles and possibly even their abutments started, it will take a dedicated and competent engineer to finish the construction on this endeavor, and it is with great hope that you, Mr. Connor, will be that engineer. I look forward to working with you on those bridges. Now, my faith is not such that I'm going to get up here and proselytize. My faith is, however, rooted in the cycles and patterns of energy and nature, and it was not lost on me that bridges have already been mentioned here tonight, but that yesterday, the day of your swearing in, was a new moon. New moons, insofar as I believe, are the embodiment of beginnings, the setting of new intentions and goals, and the generation of energy toward making those realities. It is also the inevitable ending of the previous cycle, wherein the light from the sun reflected off the moon is again visible following a period of darkness. This reminds us that there is always hope, as there will always be light, even when none can possibly see it. Our board of late seems to be united in their desires to focus on student achievement finally, which is refreshing considering that's what they were elected to be stewards of in the first place, regardless of party affiliation. We will have disagreements. We will have contentious moments. We will also have convergence and collaboration because education should not be partisan. And so long as this board, complete with a competent and dedicated superintendent, continues to focus on what really matters, which is ensuring our teachers and staff have the support, communication, and resources they need to cultivate critical thinking, curiosity, which is what spurs us to continue to learn throughout our lives, and the ability to work with a diverse set of individuals at the highest level within our students, while also ensuring that all students have the absolute best and robust access to subject matter expert vetted, age-appropriate, factual materials in both curriculum and self-selected use within a safe, secure, and accessible space, and that all stakeholders have transparency and are empowered to be engaged in the process because they know, through the board's actions, that they are being heard, then you will continue to have my support and encouragement. I know every time I stand up and speak in public, I process what I'm saying and how I act through the lens of what I would want my children to see and be proud of, as well as how I would want them to respond. So I will end on these notes. Hate has no place here. Fear should not dictate policy. We should be embodying the words and, most importantly, actions we would want our children to model. And to that end, Mr. Connor and the rest of the board, I look forward to focusing on collaboration so that every child, each child, every day receives the absolute best we have to offer.
Thank you. Jenna Holmes, then Mary Holmes.
Hello, my name is Jenna Holmes, and I am beyond blessed and proud to be here today, joined by the future of Sarasota, my 3-year-old son, Hardin. I'd like to start off by giving a very warm welcome to our new superintendent, Mr. Terrence Connor. I wish you nothing but the best and look forward to seeing you play a positive role in the Sarasota County school system. I would also like to use my time to discuss the importance of teaching children human empathy. More specifically, teaching children accountability and how and when to apologize when appropriate, to maintain and build personal, social, and professional relationships throughout their lives. I don't think it should ever be taught that apologizing for anything makes you a weaker person than someone who does not apologize. Not only do I find this an unacceptable way to live, but in fact, it does make you a weaker person. Let's say a teacher is trying to settle a dispute between 2 first graders where they are caught shoving each other on the playground. One child readily admits that their behavior was unacceptable and says, "I'm sorry for hurting you." The other child says, "My parents said I don't have to say I'm sorry because otherwise that makes me weak." Putting that ideology in children's heads that apologizing makes them weak directly affects their social development very early on. That child who refuses to apologize is going to have a world of a difficult time making friends, maintaining friendships, and so on. I can confidently say that that if I had chosen not to teach my son accountability, respect, and the importance of apologizing when appropriate, he would not be standing here today as the well-behaved little boy I have taught him to be. He's only 3 years old and has probably apologized more times than the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida has ever in his lifetime. You know, the guy who said we should never apologize for anything because it makes us weak, and the same guy that participated in the insurrection of January 6th. You know, maybe those are the values of private schools, but here I am reinforcing the importance of being an empathetic human being at a public school board meeting because many deemed it necessary to do so. So yes, let's start instilling in our children that apologizing makes us weak, even though in the end it makes us accountable for our actions and responsible and empathetic human beings. Just some food for thought. Again, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Terrence Connor to our Sarasota County school system, and will be rooting for your success in my lovely hometown of Sarasota. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Holmes, and then Mary Ann DeQuino Turrell.
No relation whatsoever.
Oh.
Good evening. My name is Mary Holmes, and I'm a 34-year veteran ESE teacher. First, I'd like to welcome Superintendent Connor to our school community. We're very glad to have you here. At the most recent meeting, I openly apologize to Robin Marinelli and Tim Enos for perhaps judging them too quickly on the basis of one viral photograph. It was brief, it was sincere, and we moved on. So I was quite concerned when at last week's indoctrination rally in Philadelphia, there was a very clear message presented regarding apologies. The apology, which was referenced, had been issued by the anti-government hate group Moms for Liberty. They had used a quote from Adolf Hitler in their propaganda material, which had gone viral, and the quote is quite chilling. "He alone who owns the youth gains the future." Hitler could not be made available for comment as he is in hell for eternity. At last week's indoctrination convention, Mr. Ziegler very publicly stated, "It is important never to apologize for anything. I think apologizing makes you weak." How does this relate to teaching? Very directly. As part of conflict resolution, schools conduct restorative justice sessions. These are used when a student has bitten, assaulted, cursed at, or otherwise injured or offended a staff member or a peer. A critical element of the process is for the aggressor to own up to, take responsibility for, and yes, apologize for his or her inappropriate behavior. This is an essential step in learning to solve problems without aggression. So we obviously have two different perspectives regarding apologies. A technique used in school settings in which it is a sign of maturity versus hate group extremists who consider an apology to be a sign of weakness. In closing, I'd like to read a piece entitled Fire. Remember what you must do when they undervalue you, when they think that your softness is your weakness, when they treat your kindness like it is to their advantage. You awaken every dragon, every wolf, every monster that sleeps inside you, and you remind them what hell looks like when it wears the skin of a gentle human. Again, welcome, Superintendent. I'm really looking forward to working with you in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann DeQuino Turrell and Richard Stammer.
Mr. Connor, I spoke to you briefly yesterday to congratulate you and to say how much we welcomed you. That was personal. Today I'm speaking in my capacity as a member of the board of the Stonewall Democratic Caucus of Sarasota. We are the LGBTQ caucus, and as a member of the Equality Florida team. In no way can you ever assume that we will not defend every single child every single day. Straight children, gay children, trans children, children who haven't decided all have a right to be educated and to be respected for the fact that they are human beings and loved by God. God never saw a person he didn't love. I would like to thank the members of the board, Mrs. Marinelli, Mrs. Rose, Mr. Enos, who's unfortunately not here, and Mr. Edwards for making you our superintendent. Mrs. Ziegler, you simply do not even register with me in terms of your mentality. I would like to thank you again. I'd like to tell you that I spoke to your wife about wonderful things to do with your family. Drumming down Sunset's a big thing here on the west coast of Florida. I don't think you do it up there. Maybe on St. Pete, maybe, but not like we do it here in Paradise. Welcome to Sarasota.
Thank you. Richard Stammer and Carol Lerner.
Thank you. I want to direct my comments first to Superintendent Connor. I'm Richard Stammer. I'm a child welfare retiree of 36 years in the state of Maryland and Florida. I also am a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota, as well as on the board of the Stonewall Democrats. And I'm really pleased to be here today. Yesterday, Superintendent Connor, I was so glad to see you sworn in and had the chance to welcome you and your lovely family to Sarasota. And I'm glad to be here today for your inaugural spin here as superintendent. And I wish you all the best. I appreciated that you said that you wanted to emphasize the importance of parental involvement in their children's education. I applaud that. Thank you. I also, since listening is a stock in my trade, I appreciate that you want to be a listener. God knows I've had to listen to a lot here over the last few months, and so, and I know you'll do well just doing that. Finally, I had never attended a school board meeting here in Sarasota, I'm sorry to say, until about 5 months ago. And I am here attending regularly. This has become my home away from home because I have been very concerned about the threats to an open, inclusive education for all of Sarasota's students. And I will continue to attend to ensure that, and I'm not going anywhere, and I am ready to help you and the board in any way that I can. And I want to thank the 4 board members who also voted for you. It puts a happy smile on my face. Also, I just want to mention that someone mentioned patriotism. I'm sorry about having the bona fides about patriotism, but I just want to say that I'm patriotic. I love my country. But our patriotism is judged by our actions, not by our attire. So, and the other thing, I just want to direct this to the board with all due respect to the chair. I think I would really appreciate if you all could get together and choose a new chairperson. There's a crisis of confidence brewing, and with these points of order and these disruptions, I think we don't need that anymore, and I wish you would consider that seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Lerner and Elizabeth Bornstein.
Good evening. I'm Carol Lerner, a leader of Support Our Schools. It was such a pleasure meeting you yesterday and your lovely family. And Support Our Schools pledges our ongoing support to you and to most of the board. But we also understand that even the best superintendent in the nation, maybe in the world, would have major challenges in any Florida district because of how much state law is stacked against public education, not to mention the fanning of the culture war flames by our state leaders. A case in point is HB 1, effective July 1st. As many speakers here have stated, and as the press has reported, this law will cost Sarasota schools perhaps as much as $60 million this year alone. I'm hoping that there is state aid to offset that. This is because any parent whose child is now homeschooled or attends a private school, even billionaires, will receive $8,600 towards tuition, including our chair who has 2 children in schools that accept vouchers. In addition, there will be untold new numbers of applications. This bill, HB 1, is not a super voucher bill. In fact, it ditches vouchers and replaces them with education savings accounts. Education savings accounts can be used for practically anything: private school tuition, homeschooling, micro schools, learning pots, tutoring, field trips, college tuition, you name it. School privatizers have always wanted this system, a system that bypasses institutions like schools and instead directly funds the child. Scaled-up education savings account, and you can privatize the entire public school system in a click of the computer. This is what past and current educational commissioners here in Florida, Richard Corcoran and Manny Diaz, have dreamed about, and it is what our current school board chair has lobbied for over the past 10 years. Support Our Schools will be launching an education campaign in the months ahead on the dangers of laws like HB 1 to public education and to our democracy. Here are some of the dangers. For ESE parents, students lose their IEP and all rights when leaving the public school. For parents in general, currently here there are 31 private schools that accept vouchers. But over 70% of them are very small, under 100 students, and 30% of them have less than 50 students. Some have as low as 10. Expect a lot more of small fly-by-night schools and services to pop up.
Thank you. Elizabeth Bornstein and Bill Hayes.
Greetings, Board, Superintendent Connor, Board Attorney. I'm Elizabeth Bornstein, parent of a 6th grader in the district, a Level 2 volunteer, and a very strong advocate for public education in my community. Congratulations, Superintendent Connor. A very warm welcome to you. I wish you all the very best. Our community, our Sarasota Schools community, is very lucky to have you. After input from the community during this search, it was clear, abundantly clear, that most people wanted a superintendent who had years of experience in public education at all levels and someone who would not bring a political agenda into the job. We are fortunate that the majority of the school board took that to heart and wisely chose you to lead our district. We are hoping that all members of the board and our whole community can now come together to support you, let the community heal in the aftermath of the loss of our previous beloved superintendent, and let the school district move forward once again. Yet, Mrs. Ziegler, I have to speak to your saying one thing and doing another at the superintendent contract approval yesterday. Madam Chair, your voting against the superintendent contract prevented the possibility of joining as a board with a unanimous vote to welcome Mr. Connor and his family here. Your behavior was narcissistic, very clearly a political power play, and truly an embarrassment to our Sarasota Schools community. The hypocrisy of professing to know what is in the best interest of our students when Sarasota County schools are not good enough for your own children. You are the antithesis of an effective leader and collaborator. It is a direct threat to public education in my community. I recommend you abdicate your chairship to the vice chair immediately. With that being said, Mr. Connor, you believe in public education. You have many gifts, including the ability to bring logic and healing to our Sarasota County Schools community. Today is the birthday of Peace Pilgrim, who was an American spiritual teacher and an advocate for peace. She said, whenever you bring harmony into any unpeaceful situation, you contribute to the cause of peace. No action is fruitless. Thank you for coming here. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Bill Hayes and Edward Hurnett.
I'm Bill Hayes, and I really just wanted to come and say thank you for coming to here. I think a lot of people are happy with the way the voting turned out. I think you're a very well-respected person. I don't think you came here willy-nilly. I think there was a lot of talk at home. I think that your kids are going to enjoy this place down here. It's a great place. I've been here since 1982, off and on. And my youngest son graduated from schools here. And without attacking anybody, I think most people, probably 90% of everybody, just wants to say welcome and good luck with everything that you're going to do.
Thank you very much. Edward Hurnett, Kia Brand.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Edward Hartnett. I'm a resident of Sarasota. Welcome, Superintendent Connor. I wish you and give you all my encouragement. I'm a former educator, grade school teacher. Both my parents were teachers, so I grew up in that environment. Mrs. Ziegler, are you listening? I have been here before and have spoken regarding your incompetence and lack of qualification. And I echo what's been said before about the other board members taking action to replace you with someone who can conduct a board meeting and not allow people to go on and making innuendo about flamboyance, personal lifestyle, grooming, innuendo about child sexuality. That kind of talk at this board meeting it should be stopped immediately. And you don't show any competence to do that. So, I'm annoyed, angry that you are not qualified to do your job. And I hate to put this into the context of welcoming a new superintendent, but I think these are the facts. And we can talk about focus and we can talk about partnership and collaboration, but until we behave, tell it like it is. Board members, remove Mrs. Ziegler. Thank you.
Thank you. Kia Brand and Jessica Thompson.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Connor. My name is Kaya Brand. I'm a parent of a middle school student in Sarasota County Schools. I wasn't able to attend your ceremony and speech yesterday, but I did watch it at home. In your speech, you said that you were looking forward to working with parents and families in our district. My hope is that you listen to those that are not in this room and the loudest. The parents that have to work 2 and sometimes 3 jobs. The parents that English is their second language. The parents that aren't able to make meetings at 3 and 6 p.m., the parents that live in parts of our county, whether it be North County and Newtown or South County and Northport. The problem is Sarasota County Schools hasn't done a good job of reaching out and asking those families. They cater to the parents in this room, especially the few that make the most noise. Just because parents aren't able to be here doesn't mean they don't want to be part of decisions that are made. They still deserve to be part of the picture. My child attends the only Title I middle school in the district. It looks very different than the room here. The parents there care about their children and their education, but they aren't being connected with. The district needs to be out in those communities and to bring those families into the decision-making. I've sat in this room and heard complaints about the same thing from the minority of people that are then written into school board policy. Things might be posted on our website, and they might be, but parents may not be able to check a website, and they might not speak English. They might not know about things, but that doesn't mean that they don't care about their education and their children. It means that they might be too busy and overworked. They might not have been informed. They might not have internet, or they might not be able to understand what's being said. Sarasota County District needs to do a better job at making sure that parents and families at Title I schools are being engaged and listened to. In closing, welcome Superintendent Connor, and I hope to see you at Booker Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Thomason, Sandy Armstrong.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Connor. My name is Jessica Thomason, and I'm the parent of 2 children who attend public schools here in the district. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our new superintendent, Mr. Connor, and his entire family. On behalf of our community, thank you for stepping up to the challenge of leading Sarasota County Schools during this tumultuous and uncertain time in public education. As a parent myself, I know it is no small feat to uproot your life, have your children change schools, leave friends, teammates, neighbors, so thank you for that. I'm pleased and encouraged that you are going to be working alongside a board that is largely supportive of you. And while they don't see eye to eye on every approach, their goal is the same, improving student achievement. And then there's the board chair. She will regularly engage in political theater, talking you up in public and then voting against you moments later. You've seen that. She has probably a handful of fans in Sarasota County, and then there are the rest of us. She's campaigning, but not for Sarasota votes. She's on a national tour. She's frequently giving interviews to Fox News and speaking at far-right political summits. It's not about you, so don't take it personally. She'll be gone soon, and thankfully the rest of our board isn't going to allow her to leave a trail of destruction in her wake. When you're out in the community and start getting to know the students, parents, teachers, and staff, I think you'll find that while we're a diverse group of individuals, we all do have a common goal in mind. Like the board majority, we want to see public education thrive in Sarasota County. So when you're inevitably faced with tough decisions, please remember that most of us want the same things. We want schools where our children feel safe and secure so that they can thrive academically. We want teachers who are given autonomy and respect so that they can inspire and motivate our students. We want an educational framework that encourages diversity of thought and critical thinking over indoctrination. We want the kids in this town to be able to read, and we think the answer to that is more books, not less. The questions will change, but the answer should always be what is in the best interest of the children. I have the ultimate confidence in you, and again, want to welcome you here to our beautiful, amazing county. To the board, I am humbly requesting that you make a motion tonight to please remove Bridget Ziegler as chair and nominate Karen Rose to resume her duties. She has proven to be an ineffective and unprofessional leader, as well as an untrustworthy historian. As we start down this new path toward a brighter future in education for Sarasota, I believe this change would send a clear message to Mr. Connor that our board is committed to working together for a successful and collaborative partnership with him and our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Armstrong.
Welcome, Superintendent Connor. We're happy you're here. Most of us are happy you're here, and we're excited to see what you're already, talking about doing and showing things for us to really look at. That helps, because as you know, it's a lot to run a school district, and it's pretty complicated. So thank you. Welcome to your family. I want to make sure that you know that we need all of our families represented. And that's not just the Mother of Liberty's family, but also the LGBTQ families and their children. And we have some laws right now, so I was very happy for you to say that you would like to have someone that follows all the political things that are going on, because it's a lot, and how we implement those in our school is going to be very important. It's going to mean, maybe for some kids, the difference between life and death. I want to tell you about a young friend. His name was J.D. He was loved. He was a soccer player. He went to public school. His parents loved him. His friends loved him, but he had a secret. He had a gender identity of someone who loved other boys and not girls, although he liked girls, but that wasn't who he was. And it was bottled up, and finally he met someone and got involved, and I don't know quite what happened, but he was very, very upset. There was nothing in the school to help him have support. His parents didn't know about it as much as they loved him, and he went to the hospital. And they tried to diagnose him. I'm a clinician. They tried to diagnose him with all sorts of stuff. But what was going on was that he wanted to come out, and he didn't know how to do it, and so it was a mess. They let him out of the hospital early. His parents said, "We can pay for it, you can keep him." "Oh, no, he'll be okay." His mother called the doc, said, "I'm worried about him." She went in a different room. He left in the family car, and when they found him, he had hanged himself. JD is no longer with us. And that's who I want each of you to think about when you try to go, "Oh, none of this rainbow stuff, let's not have any safe classrooms." There are other children like JD, both girls and boys, and trans children who need support, and their families need support. And please figure out some way to do that. In spite of all these laws, please do that. And please remember, we had a brilliant young man talk about people who speak Spanish. We need to reach those children and those families. And I'm very concerned we're not teaching true history. We were able at the First Congregational United Church of Christ, who does support all people, all God's children, have someone who lived with and traveled with Rosa Parks. And she said, if you have an opportunity to say something, say it.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comments. Are there any comments? Mr. Edwards.
So I'm going to go ahead and say what I was going to say at the end of public comments, in spite of the dust-up, as we'll call it. I would say that the intention that I know our community wants to extend is a heartfelt welcome for you to be here. And as an individual board member, I am excited that you're here. I want to start out by saying that the two forms of communication that you put out last night were quite impressive. I have to say, as a first impression of the quality of your work and the detail, I'm duly impressed, and I look forward to experiencing that type of work and that high achievement that you demonstrated, not just in your talk, but in a deliverable, which was extraordinary. So that's important to me. And I also think that as you discuss a board retreat, a couple of things that I think are essential. I think it's important that we as a board get a handle on public comments and assist that whomever is in the chair seat has really good guidelines of when conversation to the board and how it is delivered. I think that's an important component to give any chair who sits at this dais. I'm not comfortable having been the brunt of probably, although Mrs. Ziegler's getting her fair share tonight, but I have been sitting here and attacked incessantly with my mouth shut. And I think it's important that we have guidelines to give the chair. And lastly, I want to leave on a positive note. I look forward to discussing the job descriptions and realignment that you put forth tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, want to welcome Mr. Connor and very much appreciate the data that you've kicked off your tenure with. I think that that is a piece that will serve our students well and growth well. It puts us in an alignment with our collective focus of the board, which is academic achievement, and especially in your transition plan, how you are breaking down the departments and looking at how our systems function in support of students and achievement. I think that is a win-win for everyone across the board, from community member to staff member to our students. And from one board member, it's extraordinarily appreciated. As an educator, that is my sole commitment to this community is quality education. In addition to that, I am an educator. That's who I am. I have served our schools for 3 decades, and I have to say that this chamber represents the arena for the very mission and vision of children and students in our district, and that starts with respect. And I feel like it's a piece that we as a board can do a much better job with. I would like to see when public comment is occurring, how do we go forth with legal counsel? And I know there's been a recent lawsuit that just came forth with that supported respectful public comment. This is a professional organization. This is a business organization. It's a $1.4 billion business organization. We have the opportunity to start with a superintendent that is collectively representing what this board wants, and that's quality for our children in this community. So I speak in support of a retreat, and I very much like the proposals that our new superintendent has made for a retreat to occur for our new superintendent and this board relatively soon. And that does pull together some guidelines for public comment, and keeping in mind that we serve children and students, and that has a focus of respect. And from my perception, I think I know that Sarasota County deserves a lot more from us in this chamber reflecting that mission and vision. So I too would like to see us discuss how we can establish some public guidelines that surround professionalism, a business environment, and the mission and vision of students and families. Thank you. And welcome. I couldn't be more excited. I have to say, I have not been this excited since I worked with Lori White. And I know there's great things ahead of us. And one last thing, I'm hearing the community say over and over again, and this is in reference to your words as well, Superintendent Connor, every student, every day, and that comes from a mentor that both Mrs. Marinelli and I have had the opportunity to work with, Wilma Hamilton. Every student, every day, every child, every day takes us out of the arena of politics. That actually means that we have a successful pathway for every single student every day. So again, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. Don't worry, it's okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Connor, I'd like to welcome you. And last night when I read your emails, I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen that. And also to give us board members our own homework to do. And I knew that I was going to have to take my laptop out, and because I couldn't do it on my phone. And it's going to take me several days to answer those. But you brought it all into focus, I think, for all of us, that we are here for academic achievement for our students. And so I do welcome you, and I have to say, I'm older. I worked for Sarasota County Schools for 35 years. I have 40-plus years altogether. You are the new generation of administrators, and I have tremendous respect for what you're doing. And I will support you, and I think we're all going to benefit from this. And what Ms. Rose brought up, I had asked that this board consider, out of respect for a previous superintendent, Wilma Hamilton, who passed away a few years ago, that we have our motto be, every child, every day, because it does take out the politics, and I really think we're here for every child, every day. And also, speaking about public comment, it distresses me greatly, as the majority of my career was a school counselor in this district. When I hear adults attacking other adults, it's very distressing and disturbing. And it's usually the same people attacking other individuals or attacking board members. This is not the place for people's own political agenda. This is the place for students and our staff. And I am asking the people in this crowd from this point on to please be respectful. We all have our own opinions, but this is the place for children. Everything else does not need to be here. And I'm sorry if you don't agree, but this is the school board chamber. If you have things that you don't like that the legislature of the state of Florida has done, and I'm going to use Nancy Dieter's words, you're in the wrong chamber. You need to go to Tallahassee and take those concerns, because we can't change it. All we're going to do is give you our pledge that we are going to make all these changes to have our students be in a safe place and our teachers feel safe. But don't use this chamber, please, as the political unhappiness that comes down from Tallahassee. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome. And I have to say that last night I was also blown away, as I mentioned, and I really appreciate the concise, the right to work. I mean, it was very comprehensive, and I'm very optimistic and excited. I know that we have had conversations, and so I know you have faith and understand my position, and that doesn't just to take away from, no matter what happens, that you have my ultimate support to make sure you are successful. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything at all times, and that is okay. And I think the way we can illustrate up here together is that we are not going to always agree at all times, and doing so respectfully and in a procedural process will be the way in which we can model that to other people. I welcome the opportunity to improve public comment. I have seen it come from all different avenues, to removing people from the chambers, to having to bear very uncomfortable or maybe not so complimentary comments. And I don't enjoy it. Actually, I think I find it easier when it comes towards me versus my colleagues. So keep coming. But in my mind, I think that we do owe it to the work that's done. I think of our staff over here and all those that are not here and still working, that we do, as a community, owe it to everyone to elevate the decorum and the conversation. I was encouraged to see what Mr. Duggan did send over of a recent ruling, because there has been and there's always debate about what it can be done, but there is a certain ruling that we could utilize to lean on, to narrowly keep it focused on the business of the board. And so I do look forward to the opportunity to discuss that. I will honestly say it's a challenge, because candidly, what one person finds offensive, another person thinks is the absolute truth in their mind. There are certainly things that were said tonight that are factually inaccurate, as far as quotes that were made that were actually from a reporter versus a person. But I really do want us to spend and we could go through a lot of stuff, and I think that you could be, rightfully so, have things that were said that are frustrating or disappointing or you do not find that are accurate, but we could be up here all night long going through that versus going towards the business of the board. And I want to steer our focus towards that. I want to recognize that I understand that comments are made at all times, many times, that are not accurate and may be directed at certain board members. But I think we just need to keep moving. Our students, we owe it to our students, we owe it to our staff. So again, I say welcome. I'm very excited. I also want to commend you for diving right in. As I mentioned, this is kind of a unique time with the budget process and starting the new school year, and you're jumping right in. And with the reorganization, having seen a couple of areas where people are stretched thin, and so we have major, bold things that we want to accomplish, but if you do not have the structures or systems in place to do that, and people are chasing things one after another, we're never able to accomplish that. And then at the end of the day, I think we do see burnout, and we don't achieve the academic goals that we're trying to see with our students. And so I appreciate the new structure that you put in place, and also the evaluation process of developing and seeing how that's moving the needle. So I look forward to all of that. And if there are no additional comments, we'll move forward to whether or not are there any revisions to the agenda after publication. To Mr. Connor.
We should refresh.
Oh, yes. Board members, all please refresh. I think, hold on, let me see, revisions. So after the publication, which was previous, we had an addendum that was added to the approval of instruction classified personnel report in items 28, 29, 30, and 31, the revised job descriptions that were moved to new business for the transparency purposes, as we discussed. So moving on, is there a approval of the amended consent agenda?
I move for approval of the consent agenda. It's my understanding there were no amendments. So were there amendments to it?
Just after publication, but.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote. And if you didn't, everyone have it on their screen? And the motion passes 4 to 0. I'm sorry I didn't mention that Mr. Enos is not with us tonight. Moving on to the first item of new business is item number 30.
I move for approval of the revised job description for Deputy Superintendent, Chief Academic Officer.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote. Can't see that far. And the motion to approve the revised job description for Deputy Superintendent Chief Academic Officer passes favorably. Moving on to the next item of new business.
I move for approval of the revised job description for Chief of Middle Schools.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the entire proposal of reorg. There's going to be some that I will want to talk about, but overall, I just want to make the statement that I really do appreciate the concept of looking at the reorganization and being prepared strategically for the growth that our district will be experiencing over the next few years. I appreciate the conversations that I know you and I had on a one-on-one. I'm assuming that all board members had similar conversation and put forth their thoughts and ideas and suggestions. And I think that the community needs to understand, at least from, and I know that this board or pieces of the board, some of us have had conversation about spending money in the classroom versus administration, and I know that that's always a push-pull conversation, but a lot of the conversations, and particularly positions like the chief of staff and the middle school, and all that we're about to approve as it relates to the schools are essential, because particularly the addition of or the reinstatement of the middle school, what I've personally found, and I hate to make a long story long, but I want to be able to get all of those comments out at once, is I've found that the folks that are currently in those positions spend their time reactively as opposed to proactively. And as we look at potentially our growth and things like pre-K and all of those kinds of additions that'll be going into those job descriptions, if they're constantly spending their time in reactive situations and not really getting a chance to utilize their expertise professionally. So that's why I really appreciate the chief of staff in particular, the way that you've laid out those executive directors for the folks in each of our school, high school, middle school, and elementary. And then as we talk about some of the others, I have ideas and suggestions that which I know we haven't all as a board had a chance to discuss, because we are moving lightning speed to be ready for August 10th. So again, overall, I think it's a great plan, and I'm a big time supporter of your ideas and suggestions.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments? Seeing none, please vote if you haven't already. And the motion to approve the revised job description for Chief of Middle Schools passes favorably. Moving on to the next item of new business. Is there a motion? Item 32. Mr. Edwards.
I'd like to make a motion that the school board approve the revised job description for the revised job description of Chief of High Schools.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Mr. Edwards, you were on here. Is that from prior? Okay. Seeing none, if you please vote. And the motion to approve the revised job description for Chief of High Schools passes favorably. Moving on to the next item of new business, item number 33. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the revised job description for Chief of Elementary Schools.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, please vote. And the motion to approve the revised job description for Chief of Elementary Schools passes favorably. Moving on to the next item of new business. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new job description for Supervisor of Government Affairs.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Mr. Edwards.
As mentioned, this might be one that I wanted to talk about. My only, I appreciate the idea and the thoughts of behind it. The piece that I hadn't really spoken about with you in our conversation was the advocacy piece about really zeroing in on what specifically Sarasota would want legislatively, which I like. I think that's a great addition, and I just heard that tonight. But I'm just questioning if it's premature in the reorg, and here's why. As we experience growth as a school district, I've had concerns that we might want to explore the opportunity of having an in-house counsel whereby the board attorney would be for the board, and the in-house counsel would take on a lot of the policy and procedure and the day-to-day, some of the human resource components, which I believe overall could be done less expensively with an in-house attorney that was dealing with those types of things. Then this position might be either overblown or underblown if we're not, if that's an avenue that we wanted to go down and discuss. I don't know that we can discuss it here today, but I just wanted to put that out there to say perhaps it should wait for a time period so that we as a board could talk about the exploration of what that might look like.
Thank you. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the comments of my colleague, and I want to look at it just not from a legal standpoint, but a communication standpoint and a clarity. I feel like that with my perception, part of the challenge in our community is understanding how we are enacting the new legislation and communicating that through policy, having a person on staff that can actually answer questions of the community, of staff, that really just focuses simply on legislation. I wholeheartedly agree that there is a legal component to that, but I feel like the communication of actually what we are doing in our policy, in our procedures, in our daily activities, having someone that is the contact person, the communicator, could really be a positive in how this community sees us as a board and our leadership operate. So I am not, I'm respecting what you've had to say. I'm in support of continuing with this position from that standpoint and from a communication and having someone that is solely doing that for, not only for us, but for the community.
So I also agree to the twofold. This position, there's a couple of areas in which we've seen, one, we've had a very robust, we're coming off the heels of a very robust legislative session. There is a number of things that have been currently been worked on, but to have both from the communication internally and externally to understand what those processes, what those procedures are, making sure they line up, become compliant, making sure we can vote on them and you can have them updated digitally, but what's that really mean from an actual effective, execution standpoint? I think that we've seen over some years that there has been a true disconnect from the board policymaking process to the administrative aspect and the both in the communication side, but also in the execution. And I don't believe that that's by anyone's ill will. It's truly that this position is a very, in my mind, very vital piece. I think there's a lot of opportunity for it to expand. I think that something Mr. Edwards mentioned is something we should consider, and I know it's been talked about. I think it's a true analysis of what an inside counsel versus outside counsel for the school district. I think that's more of an analysis that we could potentially discuss as a board. I would be in favor of that as well, just to evaluate it. There are boards at different sizes, and there's kind of that tipping point. And so, what's cost beneficial and what's cost neutral, or what's cost prohibitive? And so that I would definitely definitely entertain as a conversation moving forward. And in the event something like this fell underneath that jurisdiction in the future, I think that would make sense as well. But I am encouraged to see this. I think that it will bridge a lot of areas, both for perceived miscommunication or actual true miscommunication, and allow us to really execute with fidelity and keep our focus where it needs to be. Mr. Edwards. And then Mr. Connor.
I appreciate the feedback. What the way that I'm understanding, and I don't disagree at all with the communications piece, but it still requires this particular person working closely with our council to be able to understand the legality of what just got passed and then turning it into communication. And that's why so an in-house council organization of government affairs and day-to-day policy making and its legality, I somehow interpret as all in one. And so when I start to ask myself the question of are there pieces of that which would that piece of it, the communications piece, maybe comes from a paralegal who works with an inside counsel, and that's what my concern is. Are we overshooting this job when we haven't had a chance to really say what are the district's needs in and around the question? And I'm not disagreeing with anything that any board member has said. I'm just questioning the timing of it and and when we do determine what those needs, if an in-house is required, then what kind of support does the in-house require, and what deliverables do we want from that particular group? That's really what I was questioning in terms of timing. I don't want to hire somebody and then find out that it's not the right job for what we need. That was what my concern was.
Thank you. Mr. Connor.
So thank you for the comments. Just to give you a little bit of background in terms of my experience with working, I think everybody has made some wonderful recommendations and comments about their concerns, and they're definitely internalizing that. I can tell you from the experience that I've had, and I can only use obviously a big district like Hillsborough County, but I can also draw on my Clay County experience where we had internal legal counsel in Clay County. We also have a government affairs person. And in Hillsborough, we had outside counsel, inside counsel, and a government affairs, and they actually just increased that position to an assistant superintendent position this coming school year. The sheer amount of volume that happens in the governmental affairs in terms of advocacy, policy revisions, when you're looking at bringing together all of our delegations and communicating with them, the external, the internal, making sure that we do partner very closely with our legal counsels to ensure that we are interpreting the new legislation and devising policy according to that legislation and alignment with that. I believe you can drown your internal counsel if you put all of those other aspects on top of them, as well as just the litigation that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So I have found it in my experience that having both, and we can talk about an analysis of whether we want to go with internal counsel. I think that's definitely a valid concern and want to make sure we approach that. But I do see a distinct need for both of those, having your legal counsel and your government affairs, because the sheer volume can inundate one or the other.
Thank my fellow board members for the conversation.
Yeah, no,
and I will support this.
Thank you. And I just want to, for a future conversation, something I know that the Sarasota County does, and the cyclical, and I know we've mentioned this before, but the cyclical nature that this position has the potential of playing of the application and execution of the policies that happen after legislative session, then taking what our priorities are based on a strategic plan, aligning that to the budgetary aspect, and then that's where, like, coming forward of looking at what our priorities are and what what our legislative priorities would be, and those people being much more strategic in the entire process. And I think, while I don't want to overwhelm this person, because I think just in the general aspect of the policymaking process, there's a lot of work at play, but there's a lot of opportunity that I think to make us a little bit more strategic and systematic at best. So I will be supporting this. If there are no additional comments, I will ask everyone to vote if you haven't already. And the motion to approve the new job description for Supervisor of Government Affairs passes favorably. Moving on to the next item of new business. Item number 35. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new job description for Executive Director of Professional Learning and Leadership Development.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the new job description for Executive Director of Professional Learning and Leadership Development. Are there any comments? I just want to add, I am excited about this position. Again, I think Mr. Edwards said something that I agree with, where there's always this push-pull of adding administrative positions versus being very thoughtful about putting all of our effort towards the classroom, but this plays a pivotal role in my mind. I've heard it from members of staff for quite some time, and I think this is a valuable tool to allow us to have longevity and succession planning, but also to really impact the learning environment for our students. Mr. Edwards.
Yes, and one of the things that I noticed when I got here as a school board member is that and I think it had to do with just the processes, because it seemed that when Lori White was here and Wilma Hamilton was here, and yes, Wilma was a mentor of mine too, for while I was running Every Child, Every Day. But what I noticed, particularly around Lori White, and not because I've had any conversation with her, but she, as I understood the talent that we work with today, she identified a lot of those people well in advance. And that's what I noticed that has been missing in our school district. And one of the things I think that's important from my business days is that retention of talent is key, whether they love being in the classroom and that's what they want to do and that's their life's mission, but also to present the opportunity for growth and new challenges. And that we do it, but not as deliberate as we should, and that's why I'm excited about this position. So a succession plan in and around professional development is key. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that our conversations will travel down those roads successfully. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
If there are no additional comments, if you could vote on the motion before you. And the motion to approve the new job description for Executive Director for Professional Learning and Leadership Development passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item of new business, item number 36. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the job description for the Chief of Staff.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? I'm waiting. I will add that, going back to what I'd mentioned before, I think that there are a lot of systems in place that exhaust amazing, hardworking individuals that allow some connectivity to take place. I don't take it lightly when we talk about administrative positions, I think, but I do support this because I have seen firsthand the absolute grind that many of you over there are doing, all of you over there, but more that are not here, and that really has played a role, I think, largely in our ability to execute on something. So I look forward to your evaluation and accountability functions to assure that that position truly will reap the dividends that we are, and it's worthy investment. So for that, I will support this. If there are no additional comments, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion to approve the new job description for Chief of Staff passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 37, is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new job description for behavior specialist.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote. The motion to approve the new job description for behavior specialist passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item of new business, item number 38. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new job description for bookkeeper trainer.
I have a motion and is there a second? Excuse me.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion, I need glasses. And the motion to approve the new job description for bookkeeper trainer passes unanimously. And moving on to item number 39. Do I have a motion?
I move for approval of the new job description for safety and security coordinator.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion to approve the new job description for safety and security coordinator passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 40, new business. Is there a motion?
I make a motion the agreement between Imagine Learning LLC and the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida be approved as presented.
A motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any comments? Please vote on the motion before you. And the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 41. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that the contract with Universal Engineering Sciences LLC for construction plan review, permit, and inspection services for the Welland Park New High School project be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion to approve the contract with Universal Engineering Sciences LLC for construction plan review, permit, and inspection services for the Welland Park High School project passes unanimously. That concludes our new business and agenda for action today. Are there any comments before I make announcements? Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share that I had the opportunity to go visit one of our local charter schools, Dreamers Academy, today, and I know that the folks there are looking forward to our superintendent coming to visit. It is a program that was started by Jerry Chaffee, research-based, incredible opportunity for dual language. They've built a new school that I also had the opportunity to visit. Phenomenal. And Mrs. Chaffee shared with me, Superintendent Connor, that you had those dual language programs in your previous district, and she also shared that the leaders of those programs were incredibly impressive and some of the best she's ever talked to or worked with. So I look forward to opportunities for our ESOL students, and I'm quite confident that you will be leading us in that direction. But they welcome a visit from you, and the research and the best practices that they're offering students in dual language is just quite impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you. I just also want to reiterate that welcome, Dr. Connor and Mr. Connor, and I think our first meeting went well. I want to thank the public for their comments and everything that positive was said to welcome our new superintendent. I want to thank our staff who worked so hard this past summer and the months before when we were going through the transition, and I appreciate it very much. And I do appreciate Dr. Foster stepping up and filling in until we were able to have Mr. Connor. And I want to thank my fellow board members for a great meeting, especially when we came to the agenda. So Thank you.
The business of the board. That's what matters, right? No, I couldn't agree more. And so thank you for those closing remarks. Thank you again. Welcome, Mr. Connor. If there are no additional comments, I just want to make a quick announcement. The tentative millage and budget meeting is scheduled for July 24th at 4 p.m. The public hearing to adopt tentative millage and budget meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st at 5:15 p.m. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st at 6 p.m. And if there are no additional comments, we stand adjourned.